Welcome to the Build with Boundaries podcast. My name is Mahnaz, and this podcast is for mums who want to carve out time so that you can work in ways that work for you, your life, your family, and of course your business. Together, we will discover why you are not prioritising your business and the actions that you can take so you can live an intentional, productive, and fulfilled life without mum guilt. So let's dive in to today's episode.
Welcome to another episode on the Build with Boundaries podcast. And today I want to talk about design. You have a design. And this concept I have been sharing over on LinkedIn quite a lot recently. So I thought it's about time I spoke to you about it on the podcast. Now, we are all here with a design, and we were born with this design. This is like where our strengths lie, where our gifts are, what makes us unique. And now that I've been talking more and more about human design, it's very interesting and fascinating how this piece comes together. And so I just wanted to share a little bit from my own experience and what I've found so far. So if you're not familiar with human design, then human design it's almost like it's science meets spirituality. I think that's the best definition. And what human design is based on is when you are born, your actual exact time of birth and place of birth. That determines like what energy was around at that time, that specific point in time. So when I'm saying energy, I mean the planetary systems, in astrology, the sun, the planets and all the alignment that goes with that. And it's not just about astrology. There's like so many different ancient systems that have been blended into human design as if it were. So it includes the chakra system, the Kabbalah, the Chinese I Ching, and astrology and all sorts. Like it is so eye-opening. It's really been fascinating. So I came across this probably, I would say, about 3 to 4 years ago now. I was intrigued. I have to say I was very doubtful as well. I was like, is this real? Like, really? The time of my birth, is it going to dictate about me and my personality? But I can tell you from my own learnings and journey, I've just been started off studying my own design, right? Looking at it and trying to find elements. And I'm telling you, it is a complete rabbit hole. You could learn human design and about human design forever, and there would still be more to learn. So what I found is over the years is like trying to focus on different areas and different parts and trying to understand what that meant. And what that has led me to is there's certainly been some instant insights. So things that you see right away that feel very true to who you are and how you perhaps have lived experiences of that. And what that means is it really allows us to put our guard down and discover ourselves, because ultimately human design is a way to showcase who you are. It's a way that, you can think about like personality tests and these kind of things. Well, this is just on another level because this is so specific on your design and key parts of your chart. You can get a chart that shows you physically what your design looks like. And key areas of this can then help you to see things like, how you operate best, what gifts you have, what your real kind of essence is, and it comes through how you make decisions, what you're here. Like if you were to say, like, what am I here to live my life, if it was, the best and the optimal and the most effective way, what would that look like? Well, your chart gives you so many clues, and it's almost like having this manual for yourself. So it is, wow, it is fascinating. It is so interesting. So having explored my own design over the years, and this has not just been a quick thing, it's taken a lot of time. There's so much to learn. And I still don't know everything about my design. I mean, to give you a brief idea, there's 64 gates. And every single gate has a meaning behind it and what it stands for. And you can either be defined or not defined in each of these gates. So you either have that or you don't have it. And that then determines your makeup, right? Your building blocks of who you are. And it's fascinating. It's just been so fascinating. I keep using that word because that's the only word I can use to describe it. And now I have taken that another step further and looking at other people's designs, because I started with mine, then I started looking at my family's, and that was like, wow, okay, that makes sense. And there's so much power in self-discovery because we get to see ourselves from a different perspective. And when we get to see that, we get to accept who we are and how we operate. And then really allows us to live our life in the most efficient way, in the best way, to live our potential. And all of that speaks to me massively because, as you know, if you're a regular listener, my top core value is efficiency. And that is something that I bring to the table with my clients, with all the work I do, and I'm living it as well because it's part of me. It's my personal core value. Now, this plays out in my design. And when I look at my values, I can see my values in my design. So it almost gives you another layer, another perspective, and lots of different angles to look at. So it's really empowering when you start looking at things like this. And just like the values, it is so important and incredibly helpful to know yourself better. And these are two areas that I believe are so essential, yet we never really get to knowing about them early enough. We can never start early enough. But when we are, reach this kind of midlife phase, it's almost like all these habits and patterns and things that we've fallen into doing and thinking and acting and, all sorts of stuff. Those habits have been formed, but we have never, ever really been able to take that step back to discover who we are. And we're I feel like we're slightly doing that as teenagers. I have two teenagers, so I'm kind of seeing it with them. And I remember particularly in my journey too, teen years are like you are discovering, where you've come from and where you're trying to go. They never really get to have that full essence of who they are. We might know, from our children, what they like and dislike, but we don't know necessarily the details of what makes them, what is their key strengths, if you like, because we can often, as parents, without knowing it, be labeling them or thinking they are acting in such a way. It's not normal. It's you want them to be different. You want them to be themselves, and yet they don't know who they are. And just in that same way, we never knew who we were. And even now and later in life, you still, if you haven't done that work, it can be incredibly empowering. Now, I've been working through this with clients, and that has been so eye-opening because I get to look at somebody's world and I get to understand who they are. And then when I add this human design element and looking at their design, there are things that crop up that just makes complete sense. for the person who I'm speaking to that this is what they are doing, and this is who they are, and this is what their strengths are and what their gifts are. And it can also help us to see areas that we are perhaps falling down. Like I think of all of these gifts as it's almost like having a scale. You have a linear scale, right? And you could be anywhere on that scale. And you could be using your gifts in the most effective and best way as one extreme. And the other extreme would be that you are on the shadow side and you are not embracing it. And you are actually, perhaps there's some kind of negative side that's coming through on that. Because as we know, every single thing that we think about, that we talk about, that we feel can have positives and negatives, right? It's all about perspective. And I see that in the design as well. So what we want to do with our design is to really not be dealing with the shadows, not be on that side, and try and help ourselves to align onto the gifts and really embrace our strengths. So ultimately, we're working with our strengths. We're not worrying so much about the weaknesses and the things we do not have. That is what is powerful about our design. And that is what it helps us to see what are the key things that we didn't think were gifts or that are actually gifts. And I've had quite a lot of aha moments where I've realised that there were things that I thought were negative about me, but they're actually really positive. And again, it's that little shift in perspective, and then in like a whole new mindset shift occurs. And with that, we start accepting ourselves. We start seeing ourselves. We start discovering and exploring more, and we start accepting ourselves. And when we accept ourselves, then, our confidence was definitely impacted because we feel stronger for who we are and we get why things have happened in the past. We will understand why we had certain triggers and certain things happened and we reacted in a certain way. And that in itself is so helpful. And this is what I'm seeing. So I wanted to share this with you because it's not something that everybody has come across, and I am definitely open to talking more about it. So I'd love to know if this has been helpful. And talking about the sort of trigger aspects, I've done an episode with Sarah Evans regarding triggers, and it was actually how they're associated with your values. And it is such an interesting episode. So I would highly, highly recommend if you found this helpful. This has obviously been talking about the design element. You can listen to another episode that I'll pop the link in. So that was episode number 72, and it's Know Your Stress Triggers and How to Manage Them. So I'll leave that with you, those thoughts, and I would love to know if you found this helpful. What you can do is listen to the series. So I have a series called Boundaries Meets Values, and there we discovered and explored this whole concept of how values really fit in. And it's again something that we don't often talk about. And if you can review or rate my show, that would be incredibly helpful. I would appreciate your support in growing my audience and helping more people to hear all of these things. It's a free resource that I dedicate a huge amount of time and effort into. So I'd love to be able to share this with more mums who need to hear this, right? So I will leave that with you. And again, if you are interested in my free resources, then you can check them out on my website. There will be links to my boundary clock worksheet in the notes. So take care, and I will speak to you in the next episode.